Hi, everybody. Hi, and welcome to Monday live stream. So let me just get a few bits and bobs out of the way. Right, folks. We are here. We're good to go. We're good to go. So hope this one finds you all well, wherever you're watching this from. You could be watching this from the planet Neptune, as far as I'm concerned. You're very welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I think we are streaming across multiple platforms this evening of all sorts. I just decided, yes, hi, Donny girl, my Hawaiian friend. I've decided, well, for example, we're on we're on the YouTubes tonight, so that should prove interesting. Oh, all those censors just waiting to get me. Okay, all you fact checkers out there. So we're on the YouTubes, we're on the Gettrs, we're on the Rumbles. My producers working super duper overtime to try and get all this stuff working. As you can see, by the way, if you enjoy all this, don't forget you can support me by buying me a coffee. I'll have a latte with extra soya milk in it, please. Link down below. And yes, if you want to subscribe, hit the subscription below, because that's always a good thing to do, isn't it? Anyway, so it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while. In fact, actually, even on some of the platforms where I stream more regularly, it's been a while as well. I took a little break. Sometimes you've got to do that just for your own sanity. So anyway, my sanity is more or less as good as it's going to be. So there we have it. So thank you all for being here. And yes, I see the comments streaming in here. Well, look, guys, those of you who are watching this on free speech platforms understand that the reason I like to stream on free speech platforms is that speak freely. Those of you who are watching on tyranny platforms like YouTube, well, you can understand the problem, but it doesn't matter. I wanted to see you. And of course, I can see people like Dave and Leslie and Donny Girl. I mean, the thing is, you should probably as well get over onto Gettr, say, or Rumble or wherever, and you can definitely get the content coming out regularly there. So as I say, I think I've pretty much got all that bit out of the way. So oops, and there's lots of email and stuff coming in, so we'll ignore that. So I wanted to talk to you about. I got a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. Yeah, because it's been a while. First thing I wanted to talk about was, it's always great to talk from personal experience about issues. We can talk about all the big issues in the world generically, but it's good when it's your own personal experiences. So I wanted to talk about yesterday. You see, yesterday, my first grandson was christened in a local church, which was a lovely occasion. And a very moving occasion, as it happens as well, for anyone who's been through that process. It's 3 generations of Vances. Can you believe it? Just what the world needs. So that was nice. But there was an issue, and I wanted to talk about the issue. You see, here's the issue. The church service was like a football game of 2 halves. The first half was the baptism, the christening. That was nice. That was fine. And then the second half was a lecture from the minister, who's not a regular of mine or anything. Like, it's not my church, whatever. And he talked about, well, you see, yesterday was Palm Sunday. And anyone who's of Christian heritage would understand that Palm Sunday marks the occasion at which Christ enters Jerusalem on a donkey. It's a pretty famous story. That's what Palm Sunday is, you see. So this guy started talking, this minister guy who had a mask on, started talking about, we talked about the grand horses and Aintree and all that. And the horses are these fine, noble animals. And then donkeys, well, they're not so noble, are they? They're more plodding. They're more ordinary. And then he started to talk about Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Putin's childhood, and how Vladimir Putin's childhood, right, had had made him into this hard mercenary figure who had no love, no kindness, no compassion, made him a monster. He talked about that. He then talked about toxic masculinity. Now, I'm sitting 2 pews away from him, very, very close. And I'm just going, basically, what is this? And I looked around me. Okay, I looked around me, amongst in the congregation, and about, I'd say, maybe 80% of them were masked, maybe more. Happily, my group, none of us were, but the rest of them were. And this is the question I wanted to ask you guys, wherever you're watching this one. Why do these people of Christian faith fear death? The very purpose of being a Christian is accepting Christ into your life and believing therefore, when you die, you have everlasting life. So why do they do that? And then basically hide under the stairs, wear their masks on for fear they're going to die. I don't understand it. I'd be delighted if someone can clarify to me, why these people are so fearful. I'll tell you why these people are so fearful. My theory is it's simply because they've been petrified. They're no different to non-church going people. Because look, we're all the same, by the way, folks. We are all the same. Hi, John Gleason, my friend. Good to see you all the way from Luton. And Melanie, good to see you as well. They've been petrified, and I think they believe that they've been reconditioned to be zombies. Hello to my friend Leslie. Good to see you on the stream as well, Leslie. They've been conditioned into thinking that if they don't put a mask on, they're going to die. They're going to die. Now, science would rather indicate that that's not the case, he says in a YouTube-friendly manner. But it's more to do with them reconciling their behavior with their belief. Is my point, if you get it. I can understand people who have no faith at all and who believe when they die. Then I can understand them potentially being scared. I get that, fair enough. But I don't understand why Christian people are like that. I don't understand it. Donny Girl says, we're Catholic, we don't fear death. Yeah, absolutely. That's the right attitude. And, that's how it should be. You shouldn't fear death. Certainly if you have a hope in the hereafter, which is the whole point of going to church. And then the other thing was, so the mask thing blew my mind. And then the second thing blew my mind was this whole sort of homily about how Putin was so cruel and such a tough guy. And I agree with Dr. Hackenbush. They'd put a mask on the Almighty if they could. But what's he? This was I don't believe in bringing politics into sort of faith and religion. I don't think it's healthy. Hi, Karen, by the way, good to see you. I agree. Exactly, the church is infiltrated by satanic fear. That said, I've just said all that, right? Now, this was a very small little church I was in yesterday. Very small, very, very small. But I'm aware of, like, for example, other larger churches, slightly different variation in faith, where nobody wears a mask. Nobody wears a mask. So it's weird, isn't it? It seems to come down to there's not a general view. The more established the church, the bigger bedwetters they are, basically, as far as I can see. And the less established the church, in some regards anyway, the more open they are to basically people just ignoring all the fear and getting on with their sense of faith and worship. So anyway, I just wanted to go through that one with you. It was a bizarre. For me, honestly, I'm sitting there literally 2 pews away from the guy, and he starts to talk about Putin, and my jaw drops. I wasn't expecting this. I just really wasn't saying. I wasn't going to expect that he's going to start talking about Putin. I thought he'd talk about there's lots of things they could talk about. There's lots of stuff in the Bible to talk about, But no, this guy, he just wanted to sort of, well, if you like, act as another arm of the propaganda of the narrative. That's the reality, I think, with these folks. They are essentially useful fools, which is very, very sad. I'm glad to hear that some of you haven't had this experience. But it wasn't. It was a mixed one for me. It was a very mixed one. I have to say, there's also something very sinister about watching a minister, a cleric, standing in the pulpit and putting a black mask on. It's really, really strange. It's really strange. I understand these people are all human beings. We've all got our weaknesses. We've all got our strengths. But well, certainly, if you're like Donny Girl and your parish hasn't gone woke, you are very fortunate. And if your parish has gone woke, my advice would be to change it. So, okay, so we've made it through the first 11 minutes. I don't think I've been given a strike by YouTube's yet. So there we go. Miracles happen. Okay, well, let's see if I can raise the ante a bit then, shall we? So the next one I wanted to talk to you. I'll talk about another one. This is controversial, a bit more controversial. Hi, Sharon Montgomery. Good to see you on the stream, Sharon, too. Sport. Okay, I want to talk about the whole trans issue in sport. Now, this is going to be a real test for my diplomatic skills in this one. Okay, so as you know, at the moment, there are if you read the press or watch the news on a daily basis, there's all these stories about trans athletes wanting to compete, usually in women's sport, right? So there's all these stories, and people take different views on it. So anyway, long story short, I was out for dinner on Friday night of last week with an old friend of mine, and we were chatting about stuff. And we were talking about this issue, and he came up with an idea, which I'm going to put to you now, and then you can tell me if you agree with it or not. And basically, he was saying, yeah, how about, he says, what we do is we just have a unigender sport. So we don't have the men's 100 meters and the women's 100 meters. We just have the 100 meters. The 100 meters, right? So we just do that. Forget about the men's tennis final and the women's tennis final. No, just have the tennis final and run that all the way through through all the other sports. How do you think that one's going to work then? And of course, we know how that one's going to work. Oh, hi, Kim. He's amazed to see me here on the YouTubes. I wouldn't repeat what you said, Kim, because that would get you an instant strike on the YouTubes. If I get through this without getting a strike on YouTube, it's a miracle. But that was this, and I thought about his idea. Well, what would that do? Well, that gives you full equality. Everyone competes together, and that way there's no discrimination. But that's one way of doing it. But of course, we know, everyone watching this knows fine rightly, that in many, many sports, that would mean that women would never win medals in any regard. I'm trying to think of some where they might win. Hi, James. I don't know. Maybe you can suggest games where you think that even if it was, like, if, for example, if it was rugby, come on. We know who's going to win the rugby. If it was just rugby, not men's rugby, not women's rugby, just rugby, or football. Yeah. Most things, there may be some things like shooting or archery. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some sort of relatively more obscure sports. And the reason for that, of course, is that men tend to have the additional strength, the upper body strength, and all of that there. So I'm not saying that women aren't very talented. I'm just saying if you just had everyone in one sporting competition, then it would lead to male's victory after male victory after male victory. But do we want that? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm happy for there to be female sports. So I like to watch women's tennis, and I like to watch women's athletics and stuff. I think that is probably, I like to do that. And I'm sure maybe you do as well. But where it becomes really, some suggestions coming in here. Shooting, yes, that's a good one. Curling, Bowls. Yeah. There's and look, there are. Go. Hello, Marie Walker. You haven't heard from you in a while. I think just everyone, just a heads up. I've not been on YouTube's for a while because YouTube and I have a tricky relationship. It's we're not really best friends because if I say anything at all, it's likely to end up in me being given a strike, which is why you see me on Gettr. If you should go on to Gettr, you should. It's a good place to go actually, and you can get the more, let's say, unexpurgated truths over there. But yeah, so there are some sports that, but the other suggestion is why not have trans people competing with each other? Does that not seem fine? Oh, I'm a very naughty boy, Melanie. I'm extraordinarily naughty because I say things that hurt the feelings of lefty libs and certain other kinds of fanatics out there. I hurt their feelings. And because of that, I have to be punished badly by being given a strike. But yeah, how about you have female, male sport, female sport, and trans sport. And that way, people compete then against their peers. Now, that seems to me, I just read Donny Girl's comment. That's a good one. Mutant sports. Like the X-Men games. How about the XXY Men games, actually? That would be quite good. So, but yeah, that's fairness. That means that no one's discriminated against. We get the best out of, each group, and that's fair. I see some of the comments saying, some of the comments, I can't read them out. If I read these comments out, I'm going to be struck down by a bolt of lightning from the YouTubes, from the grandmasters of Google, who watch all these things, who watch over us and keep us safe, keep us safe from truth. Thank goodness we've got these people. Yeah, I mean, some of Brummy Pilgrim says women struggle against men in darts and snooker. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I love women's sport. What can I say? It's good to watch. And men's sports really can be really good to watch as well. But we have trans people who want to, compete, and we should respect that. And I think they should compete against other trans people. That seems a fair point, which I would like to have someone counter if they possibly can. Why would that not be okay? Why would that not be okay? So anyway, so that's that. So moving on. I've got loads of stuff I want to rattle off my chest with you folks. War. What is it good for? Making loads of money appears to be the answer. So take that, all of you who thought that war is a senseless slaughter, etc., etc. See, I've got to be honest with you in terms of how my views have changed over. Oh, Donny Girl says girls volleyball in Hawaii is a big deal. I would say, Donny Girl, it's a big deal everywhere. Not saying why, but I suspect some of the other gentlemen on the stream could perhaps elaborate on that one. But yeah, war, what is it good for? Absolutely loads of money. Again, I've got into a conversation about this, and this is to do with Ukraine. Now, I'm going to delicately sort of dance around the issue because we're definitely not on a free speech platform when we're on YouTube, but we are in Gettr. Hello to all my Gettr friends. Conversation is basically going something like this here. If you take Britain, take the UK, if I may, for a moment. The UK is sending loads of munitions, armaments, missiles. I'm not sure if they're sending tanks, but heavy duty stuff anyway, right? They're sending that over to Ukraine. And then the Ukrainians fire that and try to kill Russians. And that seems to be something that big tech tyranny platforms approve of. I don't. I totally disapprove of war. It's awful. War is the worst thing, I put out a social media tweet or post on Gettr earlier today, or maybe it was Gab. Very good platform, Gab, by the way. Make sure you follow me over in Gab too. Saying that the thing about war is that, it's awful because people can talk in the abstract, but in reality, it's measured in dead bodies, human life being taken. Now, if, like me, and I'm sure you're all the same on the different streams watching this, you value human life. I value every life. Ukrainian, Russian, doesn't make any difference. They all count. They all had mothers. They all have fathers, sons, brothers, sisters, family. The preservation of human life is very, very important. War obliterates it. It obliterates it, right? Now we know that. And Melanie, by the way, I completely understand what's happening over the last 8 years in Ukraine, especially in the Donbass. But I don't really particularly want to get into that angle on it. The angle I want to make is the UK is making a ton of money, or certainly British companies are making loads of money, a bit like they did over PPE, actually. Only this time, it's not masks and gloves and such like. It's missiles that blow human beings apart. That is what the UK is sending over there. And so is the US. And so are, Kim says, I think we've run out of anti-tank missiles because we gave them to the beloved President Zelensky. What a guy President Zelensky is, isn't it? I mean, I mean, it's not every day you get an actor who gets to bestride the world stage and everybody loves him. And I'm sure that's super duper normal and in no way something you should be very, very concerned about. But we know that Melanie's right. War is a money-making machine, but they make the money in so many different ways. You see, for example, you have all these missiles that go and armaments going to Ukraine, and they're being used on the Russian forces. Now, obviously, the Russian forces respond in kind, and that's why there's such horrific things happening there. That's the reality of war. But all those missiles that make companies here loads of money, they go over there and then they're detonated, they're exploded, they're used, and they bring down buildings, they bring down this, that, and the other. They cause devastation. But then those countries have to be rebuilt, don't they? And that means somebody's going to make loads of money. Because let's be clear in this one here. At some point, what we see will come to an end between Ukraine and Russia. It's going to come to an end eventually. What you're going to be left with is a battle-scarred, flattened Ukraine. People who think that Ukraine can win this one are living in cloud cuckoo land. They are drinking the Kool-Aid. That just isn't going to happen. That won't happen. Can't happen. Brummy Pilgrim says weak leadership leads to war. Yeah, well, Joe Biden. Need I say any more? It's not just a coincidence. This has happened on his watch, not Donald Trump's watch. We know that. We can see that. So then Melanie says it's a distraction from the coup. Well, again, watching the platform that I'm on, you could say it. You could certainly theorize that the timing was extraordinarily fortunate, that all of a sudden this kicks off just as certain information was coming out that would make a lot of people think, the 100% safe, 100% effective, Melanie, that line, I'm not sure. I wonder how that's holding up. So fortune is going to be made in reconstruction. The world banks are going to be getting involved in this. Essentially, it looks to me like, sadly, America is going to fight, and Britain are going to fight to the last Ukrainian against Russia, if you get my point. And that's kind of sad, because there's so many lives going to be lost in this one. So many lives have been lost as well. And I have to say, by the way, that, and this is where actually the COVID thing comes in. He says, tiptoeing even more carefully now. The COVID thing comes in because just as from March 2020, right the way through, until February really of this year, we had massive, concerted, sustained propaganda, one narrative, no deviation allowed. Please, you must follow the narrative, and don't dare dissent. Otherwise, you'll get banned on YouTubes, you'll get taken off Twitter, and Facebook will do awful things to you. So that was the narrative for basically 2 years. Now we have essentially it's been switched, and basically Zelensky is the new COVID, basically, and COVID was the new George Floyd. I mean, I saw someone say that today, which kind of made a lot of sense to me. But James Jemison says here, Russia's used to long protected wars. Absolutely, and you see, but look, I have to be clear, and I am being consistent here. And those of you who watch me will know that I've consistently opposed this war, this invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I've opposed it. I can't agree with aggressive war, but I can also see provocation. I can see the unbelievable provocations coming from NATO. I'm sure you may have read in the press yesterday, that apparently Finland and Sweden are considering joining NATO. Well, hello, how much more do you want to provoke the Russian bear? I think the answer is NATO absolutely wants to provoke the Russian bear. So if the Russian bear is provoked, is it unreasonable that Russia responds? Or should it just allow itself, should it allow, for example, theoretically speaking, hypersonic missiles to be placed in Finland on its own borders? So that would mean within 2 or 3 minutes, they could be landing in Moscow. Is that something that you think that it's reasonable that Russia would accept? I wouldn't if I was Putin. And that's why Russia's already said that Finland and Sweden will be placing themselves in a very difficult position if they go the NATO route. But that's where we are. That is exactly where we are in this one, So Kim says he lived in Finland. Stupid of them to say. Yeah, it is. But you see, I don't think that Finland and Sweden, even as much as NATO, as Ukraine, are particularly wanting to be in NATO. NATO wants them to be in NATO. That's the point. That's the way it works. I've said for a long time, controversial view, you mightn't like it, but I believe NATO is one of the biggest menaces in the world to peace. As big a menace as the Chinese Communist Party, as big a menace as COVID-19, as big as a menace as globalism. It's all part of the same thing, really, I suppose. And James makes a very good point here on the stream. How did America like the idea of nukes in Cuba? Well, we know back in 1963, the Cuban Missile. And America was right to be concerned about the Soviet Union, as was then, having these weapons within striking distance of, say, Florida. And again, Melanie's saying, if your country was surrounded by biolabs with bioweapons in them, would you not be a little annoyed? Well, Melanie, I would. I'll be honest. I mean, that's why in all of this, I have the sympathies with the Russians, as much as I have sympathies with those Ukrainian people living in the Donbass who have had 8 years of military-inflicted terrorism on them, overseen by the Ukrainian government. I mean, don't all Ukrainian lives matter? See, I think they do. So I understand that when we talk about the Ukraine, it's a complex country. It's divided in at least 3 different zones, I think. And that zone, the Donbass zone, has suffered egregiously. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about the killings, the tragic deaths, the bombings, the shellings, all carried out by the Azov battalions. I'm not going to say what they are because of the platform I'm on here with YouTube, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know who they are, and you know what they do. So the reality in this one is that it's a complex situation, and that the war, I mean, itself is the only people that win from it is big corporations and globalist instincts. Of course, the other thing is, did you see that the EU? I see someone's mentioned the EU here. The EU has offered Ukraine accelerated membership. What? Yeah, we're gonna bring Ukraine into the EU. That's gonna make it even better. How mad? I mean, seriously, like, we've all lived through the COVID tyranny times, and those of us pure bloods who stuck the duration. We understood exactly what was going on then. Oh, it's still going on, by the way. It's going to come back to bite us. And maybe if I might talk a little bit more because I want to talk about that. The whole NATO thing and the whole drumbeat of war, I think civilized people should most definitely oppose. So a couple of quick ones before I go here, and this isn't going to be the usual 60 minutes. It's going to be less than that. But I wanted to talk to you about what did you think of Elon Musk and the Twitter sphere? So it's a really interesting one, isn't it? So you've got Elon Musk suddenly rocks up, takes 9.3% shareholding in Twitter, which was valued at $3 billion, I think. $3 billion when he did it. So he took $3 billion. I think then within the first couple of days, he made I think about 26% profit on that investment. So it went up by that amount. So he did that. And because he became the biggest shareholder over a single shareholder, and yes, folks, I know that BlackRock, I know Vanguard, I know they've also got investments in Twitter. Oh, what a surprise. The Twitter board said that Elon is going to join the board, and we're all going to sit down and we're going to chat things together because he's got some great ideas. So, okay. Then did you see over the weekend, he was tweeting out stuff about, is Twitter dying? Which is a strange thing for a majority shareholder to say. And then today we discover, or today, he's not going to join the board at all. So it's a strange one. Now, there's different reasons why he... thanks, Ricky, by the way. Appreciate the generous contribution. If you want to support the platform, that's a simple way to do it. And I agree, by the way. Actually, can we bring Ricky's comment on the stream, actually? Yeah, because it's a good one. He says, 100% agree. We must declare the World Economic Forum a prescribed organization. The World Economic Forum is central to just so much of everything that's going wrong. You know, the rising tyranny, Ricky, can be placed back to the World Economic Forum. So we do have to be very careful of all of these people. Donny Girl says, why would Ukraine want to be beholden to the EU? I think that people like Zelensky probably owe everything to, let's say, other powers in the background. Puppets tend to respect their puppet masters, is what I would say to that one, Donny Girl. I'm glad Kim still wears his pure blood badge. Those of us who fought the battle, who fought the, you've got to take the totally super duper safe vaccines. We wore our pure blood badges and we didn't do it, did we? So absolutely. Wear it with pride, Kim. Still got badges. If you haven't got a pure blood badge, I'm sure the links are down below. You can still get them. But I want back to Elon Musk. So why do you think he's doing this? A couple of different reasons, I suppose you could say. Number one, if he sits in the board, if he's a board member, right? He then has a declaration. He has to a fiduciary obligation not to do anything hostile to the company on whose board he sits. So there's that. He would then be also beholden to keeping his shareholding in Twitter at 9.3% or whatever it is. By not going on the board, well, he can do what he wants. He can do what he wants. Oh, don't forget our sponsors, by the way, nothingbut.co.uk. If you're living in the UK, give them a visit. There it is. They support us. If you want to boost your immunity the natural way, that's one way to do it. Just go there and you can see what they have to offer. But with Musk, he could launch a hostile takeover if he wanted. Basically, he can now buy Twitter if he wants. Or he could buy a significant majority share. He could increase that shareholding up to, 51%, I suppose, if he wanted. So there's that. Is that possible? And then there's the bigger question of all. And it's this: is Twitter worth saving? I mean, if any of you right now, all of you watching this, right, wherever you are watching this, if you had 200 billion in the bank, and you wanted you wanted to buy Twitter, yeah, well, would you if you could? I don't. I wouldn't. I think Twitter's a hateful place, not just because they banned me. They banned. They banned most people. They banned nearly everybody, or suspend them, or do whatever. I don't think it's worth saving. I'd like to see it die. Is that wrong for me to say that? I like to see Twitter die. It was a good place 12 years ago or so. It's been a bad place for at least the last 6 to 8 years or so. From 2016, from President Trump won in 2016, Twitter became a hateful place, and the people on it are the most awful people. And they amuse me, they see the people on Twitter, the trolls on Twitter. And when I left Twitter, when I was removed from that auspicious place, they slithered across onto, be it my Gab, onto my Gettr, wherever I am. They come along and they type their sad little, "I desperate to get your attention, David," comments, as if I care. I don't care. I agree. Twitter is so toxic. I'd give Elon my stock. So I think Twitter should be allowed to die. I think it was a good idea at one point. It's not a good idea. It's full of hate. It obviously, the people in Silicon Valley who are, Melanie says she's not on any social media. Well, Melanie, there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that. Not being on social media is a healthy situation. I do think, however, I'd like to see Twitter die. I'd like to see other platforms like Gab and Gettr grow, because I think they allow for more or less the same kind of exchanges of informations, but they're generally speaking more pleasant environments. And Donegal actually makes the only thing about Twitter, it's not a reason to keep Twitter. It still should be allowed. It should still die. But a lot of, like Donegal says here, you get alerts, from I don't know, like local police or hospitals or education or public services, basically, and they provide you the information through Twitter. And so there's some vague public utility benefit to it. But then, because Twitter bans people, Twitter's saying, yeah, but we're not allowing everyone to have that, right? So then I'm thinking, okay, Twitter, well, stuff you, go and die. And so that's where I would. So I don't have any real, desire for Elon Musk to succeed. I don't know how he could succeed, because although I've got to admit, I did chuckle at the prospect of. Could you imagine what a Twitter board meeting would be with Elon Musk? All the purple-haired Captain Marvel, attired, nose ring wearing leftards, which infest Silicon Valley. Can you imagine all of them sitting around the table from Musk? That would have been probably worth seeing, but that's not going to happen now. So we'll have to watch this space to see to see what happens next. It's certainly been there's a Gorgo Knight says Facebook Meta needs to go. Yeah, well, I would suggest that Twitter needs to go, Facebook needs to go, and YouTube, well, I've got issues with YouTube as well, actually, because it's not a free speech platform, you say. Maybe they all need to go. Maybe what we need to do is, and this is what happens with technology, it goes through it's like cars, and things like that. They go through cycles, and then something new comes along, especially in technology. So I do think that it would be good for these new platforms to rise up, and these old Silicon Valley platforms to just rot away and die. I mean, I think Elon Musk was saying the thing that he said that apparently some of the biggest accounts on Twitter, and he was referring to, I think, people like, is it Beyonce and Taylor, whatever she's called, the singer, Taylor Swift. Is that her name? I forget. Don't care. These people have huge followings on Twitter, millions. They tweet about once a year. Come on, what's that? I think that's what Elon Musk's point was. What's the point in having people with huge followers who don't really use the platform? Steve Godley Icon Maglio says they are algorithm pimps. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I'm reading some more comments here. Donny Girl says, "I quit Facebook a couple of weeks ago. I was getting too angry at stupid people." Well, actually, to be honest, I mean, I don't use Facebook very much. I use it mostly for family and friends. So they tend not to be stupid people, but I tend to do very little over there because rather like this platform, rather like Twitter or YouTube, if you say something very forceful, you're gonna have problems, you know. And I'm not interested in Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. I think that's actually a really sinister, um, you know, sort of progression. Has anyone? I tell you, I was in a big tech store in the UK here the other day, and I like technology. In fact, I love technology, and I was looking at the different things they have, and they have these. Have you seen these things? Is it Oculus? You know that I think are they called that again? Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I saw somebody saying here, Jack Pacific should have got off Twitter before they deplatformed him. Looks weak and pathetic now. Yeah, see, Jack's been suspended. Don't think he's had his account. He hasn't had the full David Vance treatment. He wasn't unceremoniously gotten rid of. Badge of honor, by the way. Badge of honor. Leslie says Facebook is crappy and dangerous. Well, it really is because Facebook, like I've read, I mean, if you go down the rabbit hole on Facebook into the origins of Facebook with the CIA and all of that stuff, what you discover is Facebook is basically just tracking you. I do not have Facebook on my mobile phone. I don't have Facebook in that. I have it on a fixed location, and that's it. And you hardly ever use it because it's snooping on you, folks. But that's what it was designed to snoop, and who wants that? You know, so that's why those of you who say you're not on social media, certainly big tech social media, you're very sensible. Yeah, you're very sensible. I mean, I'm just about on it. I'm off Twitter. I hardly use Facebook, and well, YouTube. You guys sometimes, I think some of you like me to use YouTube, but the problems are the amount of censorship going on in here as I speak. I'm surprised that I don't just fall over and collapse because I've actually said what I thought it would be very, very problematical. See, there's a really interesting comment. Melanie says, nor does she own a TV. Happy life. Amen. In many regards, that's where we may end up having to go. Those of us who want to be free spirits, who don't want to be controlled by, the powers that be, we may end up having to do exactly what Melanie's saying: no TV, no social media. But then, how do we talk to each other and communicate? I'm not sure. Sophie says Rumble would be a great platform once they work out the bugs. Yeah, I like Rumble. Oh, by the way, actually, just while I'm on it, Rumble's good. There's also another new platform called locals.com, which I'm on. And I think that Dave Rubin set this community up. And I think the idea about it is it's an area where it's sort of like specialized, individualized communities where you can talk, but it's not open to just generally speaking everybody. So it's like it's an area. It's like a room you can go into for polite conversation. So do look me up. I'm the David Vance over on locals.com if you want to see me there. So you can check that out as well. But I mean, look, the thing is that we live in an age where there we go. And just like that, you can see that is in fact, this is very disturbing, seeing two images of myself. Yeah, so there's content we can put out over there as well. And we can forge friendships and hopefully develop things in nice ways as well. So there is a locals thing as well. But certainly if Rumble gets itself sorted out, I really hope it does. It's glitchy. There's things not right about it. But the principle is good, and I totally support Rumble, by the way. In fact, we're streaming to Rumble as we speak. So hello to all my Rumble friends as well, or those who watch it and replay and whatnot. So I think thanks very much, Stephen. Appreciate your kind comments. we definitely need to recognize. Oh, someone's talking about Donny. Oh, good grief! Brandon is talking gibberish again. Did any of you guys see Joe Biden doing the speech the other day? He had Kamala on one. He had his diversity hires on both sides. He had Kamala on one side, and then he had Judge Ketanji on the other side, right? And he said he came. Did you see him? He came to the microphone and he says, "There's only one word that describes America." And then he came out with, yes, what was he saying? Did he have a stroke? I don't know. Did you see that? Oh, I mean, honestly, look, American friends, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at your awful president. I'm ashamed of my Prime Minister Boris Johnson. It fills me with shame when I see that clown. Oh, bye, Gorgo Knight. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And thanks, Ricky, by the way. Ricky's come back with another comment we should talk about here as well. Ricky says, we can bring it up on the stream here. Comment, just if we can bring it up. This is Ricky Rick saying on the YouTubes, yeah, after WEF owned Andrew Neil's anti-Le Pen comments today, I hope her election landslide's not stolen. Yeah, if it's not stolen, she'll have him deported from France. Yeah, because I know where Neil lives, down the south. In fact, I used to vacation not very far away from where he is. Very, very nice spot he's in, by the way, and fair enough. But wouldn't it be lovely if Marine Le Pen was to become president of France and deport people like Neil? Because Andrew Neil came out, as has been referenced here, and said that, well, if Marine Le Pen gets in, that could be even worse than Donald Trump. Oh yeah, true colors. You see, ultimately, folks, if you watch them, and that's why the last couple of years have been a revelation. True colors have been truly shown. Hi, Scott. Good to see you on the stream. So we know that Andrew Neil. I mean, this is Andrew Neil. This is the guy who did his best to sabotage GB News in some ways. Certainly, he was not very helpful, even though he was the chairman of GB News. He then wrote an article back in December suggesting that unvaccinated people needed to be punished. And now he's written an article saying that Marine Le Pen would be even more chaotic than Donald Trump. Well, number one, Donald Trump wasn't chaotic. First point. Second point is Marine Le Pen is a French patriot. What's not to like about her? Yes, Scott, good to see you here. What's not to like about Marine Le Pen? Now, I'd love to see her win. Got to be honest. I can't see it happening because the French system is so corrupted. It's so corrupted. The French political system, like the British political system, in fact, like most political systems, exists to sustain the establishment. You can have a choice. I mean, you can have a choice in the UK. You can have Tories, you can have Labour. They're all the same. You know that. I know that. In France, it's a bit different. So Marine Le Pen is definitely an outrider. But I don't think she's ever going to get on the inside. Dr. Hackenbush says you can take Mr. Neil out of the BBC, but you can't take the BBC out of Mr. Neil. Well, you're dead right, of course. Again, I mean, look, at one time I respected Andrew Neil. I'm not sure. I used to find his interview style okay. He was always very, very anti-Trump, though, and I didn't like that. Melanie says that, of course, the media are categorizing Marine Le Pen as far right. She's anything but far right. She's centrist. But if you want to talk about an extremist, I'll give you an extremist in France. Macron. Macron's an extremist. Why is that, David? Well, I'll tell you why. Because number one, he locked his people down for 2 years. And even before that, if you remember the Gilets jaunes protests, there was a significant, he was like the French Zelensky imposed back 5 years ago. Remember when he mysteriously came from nowhere and he won hearts and minds? Come on. So he was imposed back then and he's still going. Hi, John Mercer. Good to see you, my friend. so he was imposed back then. I think they want to keep him in place, so they won't allow Marine Le Pen to win. So I put out a podcast today. By the way, those of you who aren't, please subscribe to my podcast channel. I think we have the links below to that one as well, and there you will get about 6 podcasts a day, little bite-sized podcasts, 5-6 minutes or thereabouts on individual topics, and it's all for free. You can just hit the subscribe button, and I hope you'll do that if you haven't already. There you go. There's the David Vance podcast channel. All the things that I can't talk about on platforms like YouTube, I talk about them there. So do make sure you go there and you can pick up on. I mean, there's one today. We've got Macron versus Le Pen. So I did a little piece on that. So that's a good reason to go to that channel. Why the West wants the war in Ukraine. So much stuff coming out, folks. Trying to get the message out there, because we do live in this massive information war. You know, it's not a cliche. I know Alex Jones, InfoWars and all that. It is an info war. It really, really is an info war. And so the best that people like me can do is put out content on as many platforms as possible, and hope you guys will maybe listen to some, maybe repost some, comment, feedback to me, whatever, because we have, City Troll, my friend City Troll is on the stream, I see, and who's appears on my Thursday night podcast live stream, 8 p.m. Thursday night. City Troll is with me, along with my producer Jed and my colleague Ed from Alt News Media. You can catch us live on a Thursday night. And he's saying that, of course, in the States they're referring to Le Pen as a Nazi. It's shocking. I mean, you know, one of my yes, and City Troll says you can also get all my content over on the original site at tangledweb.org, link below as well. You can find loads of stuff there. Alex Jones, I think, you know, basically speaking, he's been right on most stuff. Iberstetter, nice shirt, David. It's not really, but I try to wear something that doesn't either stand out too much with the background or make me basically just ahead, if you know. David Vance, Sophie says, I am on many platforms. I have to be, because as I say, people get their news in different ways. Some people like to drive around listening to podcasts, so I do podcasts. Other people like to watch visual live streams like this, so I do this on different platforms. Over in Gab, putting content out. On Gettr, putting content out. On Rumble, on Odysee, on BrandNewTube. You know, this is how we do it, folks. Funny enough, the one platform I don't use, John Mercer asked me the question, am I still using Telegram? I'm on Telegram, but I don't put out much content on Telegram. I think Telegram is a fantastic platform, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. BitChute, there's another one, folks. Yep, forgot about BitChute. I forget about them because there's that many of them. But you can look, loads of content there you folks can dip in and out of whenever you want. And, you know, you can get, there's one on Tommy Robinson, for example. There's all kinds of content. Have you ever been in InfoWars or the Lotus Eaters? Asked John Mercer. I have been invited to be on the Lotus Eaters, and I hope the Lotus Eaters will be coming across to my neck of the world, and hopefully we get to meet up. John says he remembers me from my biased BBC website. You know, I set up a website back in 2000, a long time ago, 22 years ago, called Biased BBC, because I hated the BBC even then. And 22 years on, my view has changed. I don't think it's biased. It's despicable. I should change it to Despicable BBC, hashtag Axe the BBC. That's what my views. John says it would be good if there was one platform where we could find everything. Now, I agree with you, you know, and it's tough though, because it's different forms of communications. It's, you know, some people like this, other people just like, you know, sort of neat little posts on social media. It's horses for courses. I try to give you everything, and hopefully you'll find something that you can enjoy. And do you rate? Trying to read comments here. Sometimes it's a wee bit tricky. It's Pravda, like, please go on Lotus Eaters. Yeah, I was over in London, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, something like that, at a Gettr event with Jason Miller and some other excellent people. And one of the people that I met up with were a couple of the guys from Lotus Eaters. I think they thought that I lived in England, but I don't. I live in the socialist nirvana, or is that a hellhole of Northern Ireland? I'm never sure. Oh, we've got elections coming up soon, by the way. Lots of lols about that. Maybe I'll do, I don't know. I can't be bothered sometimes doing a thing on local elections. But Simon Knight, hello, Simon. Don't worry about Simon. You've been out in the garden, have you? Well, you must get more daylight than me because it's dark outside. So if I was in the garden at this time, I wouldn't see what I was doing, which might be an advantage. Yeah, a super platform that has everything in one, just more tabs would be good. Well, yeah, the other thing is anybody on Truth Social, can I ask, are those watching? Because at the moment, that's the Trump new platform. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's still in beta phase, or I'm not 100% sure, because you can't, if you're in the UK, you cannot join it. So people keep saying to me, David, you need to get on Truth Social. I'd love to be on Truth Social, but at the moment, Truth Social is purely for American people. And so those of us who admire Trump and support Trump, but are outside of the US, we actually can't get on the platform. So yet, but I'm sure that will change. And hopefully I will finally emerge on the Truth Social. I don't know how it will do. I have no idea how well it's doing or whatever. I can see some of you haven't been able to get on it yet. That's why I just think we need, the lefties have gone on about diversity. We need diversity, but they don't mean that. What they mean is they want conformity. They want uniformity. That's what they want. But I do believe in diversity. And so because of that, I do like all these different platforms. It means it's an awful lot of work sometimes trying to put content in all of them. Donny Girl, if you're on Gettr, make sure I'm following you in Gettr, Donny Girl. Look me out over there so I can make sure that we can connect there as well. Stu Peters is very good. Excellent guy. Yeah. And by the way, there are lots of good platforms on Telegram. I enjoy Telegram. I don't know about you guys, but apart from the fact that I listen to some of it to essentially produce content for you to fight back against it, I've turned the volume down on mainstream media massively. I mean, I never watch the news. I wouldn't dream of watching the news. Wouldn't dream of it. And I just watch selectively other things from the mainstream media because it's bad for you. I think many of us survived the COVID. Foxhole, Ricky, is a site I've looked at. I haven't gone onto it yet, but I am familiar with Foxhole. I know about Foxhole. John says, why has Trump set up in competition with Gettr? I wish he hadn't. I wish he had have embraced Gettr and worked with his former colleague, Jason Miller. But I don't know, maybe that's better for Gettr because, to be honest, the amount of hate generated by Democrats and lefties towards Donald Trump, that could take down the likes of Gettr, I suppose. Maybe Truth Social is going to be strong enough to stand up against it. I don't know. I really just don't know the situation. Their American friends can advise me. But Dave says, is Trump not available in the UK? Nope, he's not. The platform's not. And I think it's because they're trying to just roll it out and make sure the functionality is there. So a bit techie this at the end. We're talking about different platforms. But here, look, we are on these. John says, if you reached out to Alex Jones, I would love to be on InfoWars. As I say, I see, honestly, people say, and Alex Jones, he's a mad conspiracy theorist. No, he's not. I don't believe he is anyway. Hello to my friend Chris Davies, back from a weekend regaling it in Dublin. If I'm right, Chris, good to see you. Hope you had a great time in Dublin, where they have temporarily ruled back the COVID tyrannies. Do you know, I used to be in Dublin every month or thereabouts. Haven't been in 2 years. I'm not sure when I will go back. But regardless, look, friends, we have got to the end of our allocated hour, and hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to visit our sponsors, www.nothingbut.co.uk. Don't forget to visit them. Don't forget you can get your pure blood masks, you can buy me coffees, you can subscribe in all kinds of different ways, because we are legion at this point anyway. As long as I'm still got the breath in me to keep going, we're trying to be legion. We're trying to put the stuff out there. We're certainly not submitting. We will never ever be a compliant. And I think we've survived 60 minutes on YouTube, but also on the other platforms. So thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate that. Thanks for all your kind comments. And I want to try and get into the habit of doing like a regular like Monday show and a Wednesday show, but it's just the timings of that, maybe be a little bit of flexible around that. However, I hope you've enjoyed this bit of a chat we've had. We've tried to put the world to right, and I should hopefully catch up with you guys if you're going to be around on Wednesday evening. So do look out for me then. And in the meantime, from my producer and from myself, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and catch up with you guys soon. Bye for now.